And what we're here to talk about is anyone making money at this? Obviously fantastic content. The exhibits outside have been amazing. And the question is, where is the business model? Where's the ROI? How are we making money? What kind of slant are we in as we go, as we go towards the future? And how is this really going to change as the platform continues to grow? So we've got a great group who all represent a different sector of the business, and they all have a different place in kind of the VR ecosystem in terms of where the business is going to go and how we're going to all get returns on our investment over the years to come. So without further ado, we're going to start with JOERGEN at the end of the table, and everyone's going to give a quick introduction of their company and where they stand, and you're up.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Jürgen GEERDS. I'm the CEO and creative director of KONCEPT VR. We are one of the largest, oldest, and independent VR production companies on the East Coast. We have a rich experience based on creating cinematic VR, coming from the process that we actually invented the very first fully spherical camera system, and the killing of the blind spot, how I would call it, allowed filmmakers and us, of course, creating new VR experience to take viewers into new places that were unimaginable before. As I said, we are independent and we are profitable, and we've created very exciting VR experiences, ranging from example, the Hamilton experience that you may have seen for the Tony Awards. That made us money, but it also promoted the musical, of course. But it also ranges to very far and wide customers, such as the Boeing and Lockheed Martin, where we filmed a rocket launch in virtual reality, showing how the process is actually done to launch a rocket, and really take the viewer to places that were never filmed before. We were like 30, 40 meters away from the rocket, and it goes off right in your eyes. We have multiple camera angles. So we really try to push the VR medium as it is in terms of storytelling and really taking the viewer to different new places.
Fantastic. Russell, you're up.
Sure, thank you. Hi, I'm Russell, NAFTAL co-managing partner of VRWERX. It's my partner next to me, so I'll tell you half, and then he can fill in the rest of that.
You can do all the talking.
No, he can talk, sorry. I don't know, are we going to put our video up now, or are we going to save that for after? Do we know if we're going to put video up now or no? Video now or after?
We can do it now if it's ready to roll.
No, I mean, if it is, but I think we could, well, just tell us about who we are, and then we can put it up after. That's fine, thank you. So we are a virtual reality game production, game development, and live action production company. We're also a distributor and publisher. Right now, we're in the middle of making the Paranormal Activity virtual reality game, The Lost Soul. We also do live action. I'll let Alex talk about that. We're based in Los Angeles. Big background in entertainment and business for around 20 years, from television and digital, always with the focus of platforms, consumer, reaching the consumer, targeting the consumer, and monetizing that consumer.
We also just produced the first, oh, is this better? We also just produced the first ever live action feature length movie for 360 in VR. Jesus VR, which is an hour and a half. We premiered it at the Venice International Film Festival. It was a pretty big shock to the system in Italy, but it was a lot of fun to do. It put us on a great global stage, put VR on a global stage. Just between Russell and I, we come from the traditional business, so film and TV and digital. Between us, produced 3,000 hours of content, distributed or produced or financed 100+ movies, done $50 million in branded entertainment, and then we said, all right, this has been great, but then we saw VR. We fell in love. We merged our respective...
Not together in the business.
Thank you for that.
We'll talk about that later.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. And we merged our companies, and we said, let's do this. And so we just launched, and our philosophy is let's make premium, high-level content with a focus on monetization. Day one, we're not experimenting outside of experimenting to make great premium content, but from day one, it's about delivering and making great games in live action VR and 360 content to monetize.
Great. Ryan.
Hi, I'm Ryan Horrigan, Chief Content Officer of FELIX and Paul Studios. We're a tech-enabled virtual reality studio. We have a content deal with Facebook and Oculus. We do some work with Samsung and other platforms as well. We've made about 20 VR experiences to date in fiction and nonfiction, and We're now sort of preparing a slate of about 40 projects, moving towards episodic content and serialized content, working with filmmakers, writers, directors, people from theater and athletes, musicians, et cetera, and excited to be here.
All right, great. And let's hear about Verve.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm Brian Besser. I'm the founder of VRWERX, which is a talent agency based here in Los Angeles. We represent writers and directors in digital and movies and television, and now, of course, in virtual reality and augmented reality. And our job is to help bridge the gap between the content companies and the financiers and the distributors and the studios and whatever opportunity that is out there, and to help build this new economic system, this new ecosystem, and try to figure out how to make money from it.
All right, great. And Jonas has some visual aids, so hopefully it's going to work. All right.
We'll start there.
Hit
Hi.
it.
My name is Jonas Hudson. I work with 360 ADSPOTS and CausePlay. And we're really focused kind of on the other side of it all. We're a 360 first thinking company. We love VR. We think it's wonderful. But we've been able to monetize 360. So I'm going to go through some slides real quick. This is something we did at grocery last year. We didn't know what we were doing. Demi Lovato was at the Troubadour. We shot her in 360, distributed through grocery, and picked up Nestle, Farmer John, and Kellogg's. And by accident, we were profitable on day one. We used circulars, in-store signage, shelf tags, some of the ugliest marketing that you could possibly dream of, but it touches the masses because we were told everyone eats food and grocery is a good place to launch it. We had a problem though, because no one knew what VR was or 360, so we had to make our own cardboard, as you can see there, and we branded it, and we sold it at grocery for $2.99. And this was fun, teaching people from different parts of the world to say, oh my gosh, what is that thing that you're wearing? But it's Demi's in it, we'll pick it up. Of course, Demi was helpful. She has 36 million followers. She was able to push it out. So it was the first time Food for Less and Foods Co. had Demi Lovato tweeting about circulars and Food for Less, as you can see there. Really, at the end of the day, what we delivered was 500 million brand impressions for the brands, and we grew sales. And that's the key. We grew sales. Each one of those brands has come back for more. Here's my favorite slide. We were told, how'd you get Demi for Food for Less? And we said, we can get anybody. So we got the Pope. And what I love here is you've got Retailing Today, the Catholic Herald, and VR Focus doing articles on our program. But what really counts is that Mission Tortilla brand in the bottom. They funded it all. So one of the things we got into was, well, let's white label our players for big distribution partners. And one of them is Sinclair Broadcast Group. It's the biggest broadcaster in America. And what they do is they have 173 TV stations, 81 markets. And what they basically said was, we need to get in this space quick. So we created content with them, for them, and with our partners, the Associated Press, to create a streamlined, full funnel, if you will, of content. And it's not necessarily VR, it's hurricane sequences, it's Trump bikers and Trump rallies, but this stuff is important because the brands needed a continuous stream of content to layer 360 ads in front of it. We did something with Game Show Network, and I'll go really quick here because I know of time. GSN has a show called Elevator. They created a 360 piece. We cut it down to a 15 to 30-second pre-roll. We used Sinclair to deliver a flat segment across 71 news broadcast stations that hit 48 million people, all driving down to Circa. There you can see, Channel 10 in Omaha promoting it, et cetera. So we got a massively syndicated promotion for a VR piece, 360 piece. One last thing, Trusted Media Brands over here. They've jumped in and partnered with us. The Family Handyman and Taste of Home doesn't sound terribly sexy maybe, but it does to 50 million unique mobile customers. And if you look on the ComScore, they're number 43. They are diving deep, and the brands love these guys. So we're delivering pre-rolls in front of the content. I'll kind of stop there.
Who got paid more, Demi or the Pope?
Oh, the Pope always gets paid more. He's a very holy man. No, it was a wonderful program.
Okay, we could go back to the master slide. Who's up? Whoever has the master control. Brian, just quick question. So is your talent going to jump into VR and do things maybe for less than they would traditional entertainment, just so they can get in the game, or no?
Absolutely.
Good answer.
Part of the fun that we're having is, because it is new, and it's sexy, and it's different, that the talent is following because they want to be in that space. They want to be pioneers, and they want to try different things, and they want to be, they're all brands into themselves, and part of their branding is being pioneers in every direction. So that won't last forever, but we've had a lot of success so far in attracting big names, big branded talent to come to the space. Really, it's just to try it out, figure out what it is, and explore a little bit.
Got it. And Jorgen, in terms of concept, we were talking a little bit about your growth. And obviously, you've got competitors. They're out there. Many companies are getting into the production game. So the growth you're seeing, and we won't ask you for numbers, you're growing 5% every year, 20, like, how is your growth cycle in terms of hiring new talent, hiring new people and projects? What does your graph look like?
I would say our growth is similar to what Felix and Paul is growing. I mean, you guys are hiring like crazy, I assume?
Yes.
Yes, we are hiring like crazy. And we see it because there's not enough content creation out there, because the VR revolution wants good content out there. Marketers and brands want content where they can put additional information on it. And it's really important to get more talent in there so we can cater towards the increased demand towards all those projects.
Got it. Makes sense. And I'll just, throw it out to the panel. Where do we see the growth opportunities that haven't been mined yet? Everyone's looking around from production, distribution. Is it really the distribution? Is it really the content creation? Is it really ad-based? Where do you gents think the greatest area that's not been explored yet?
I think it's just a little too early, right? We've just made the first hole in the ground, right? So we're really at the surface of VR. I don't think that there's an area, speaking for VR specifically and AR, I don't think there's an area that hasn't been recognized yet. I think it's still too early. I think the technology has to be there for us. The consumer has to be willing to pay for content. And we really have to build that consumer base before we start to know where we're missing. Because ultimately, the consumer is going to tell us what's missing, right? We have to start, we can be creative all day long and think of ideas on how we can reach consumers. But ultimately, the consumer is going to dictate how we're going to be delivering them a message, whether it's through content or advertising or...
Well, listen, I mean, the one thing I'll add to that is we really haven't seen any real content yet, right? I mean, we're waiting for the tidal wave of premium, high-quality content. We've seen a lot of companies making short-form experiences, small projects, but we haven't really yet seen the tidal wave of studio-level content, premium, high-level AAA type games yet. I mean, there's an abundance of opportunity out there. I mean, we're everywhere.
But so I just got a deck from one of the talent agencies. They go, hey, these guys came together, they worked at ILM.
But they don't know anything, though, all those guys. But those guys have no idea, respectfully. They don't know it. The big ones don't, the small ones do.
They're going to produce this great piece of content. I looked at it, I said, this is fantastic. They go, it's going to cost $600 grand. Do you have anyone who can fund the $600 grand? Where's the money coming from?
The money's coming from the brands. And we can fund those type of productions.
No, but they don't want my money.
No,
we don't want any brand money.
We actually don't. I mean, and we appreciate it.
As much as we love brands.
And we'd love to have dinner and hang out and talk, but for us personally, we're not a services company, right? We are making original monetizable content and talking directly to a consumer. Because the problem is if you give away content that has no value, the consumer isn't spending money, and this is in our opinion and what we've seen, is if the consumer isn't paying for it, there's no value to it, right? I mean, if you're getting something for free, you typically assume it's junk, right? Unless you're, I don't know. But regardless,
unless you're Radiohead.
Right, exactly. If the consumer really isn't paying for it, there's no value there. And once they really start paying for something and they're comfortable with the price that they're paying, then they're on board. Branded entertainment is really a fantastic opportunity to expose VR to a consumer and get them actually wearing
Yeah, but there's a difference between branded entertainment and entertainment funded by brands. Pre-roll content, the whole nine. Sure. We didn't make the Pope running Mission Food Tortilla Rocks enjoy. The whole point was that Mission Foods proudly presents the Pope in 360.
Sure. So it's more of a sponsorship mindset than
absolutely, and augmented reality right now, we've been making money in augmented reality for 2 years with this grocery model. It's the baby steps. The VR industry is amazing. It's going to be the next thing on the, it's incredible. But Today, the brands are sitting there going, when can we jump in? And commercial makers making 360 content or VR content, they are dying, I think, to put it in front of content that's available.
Yeah,
And I'll-
sorry, I want to jump in here. There's also the whole field of brands that actually want to tell a story in here. Like, for example, we built a documentary for a company called Open Blue. They're in open sea fishery and try really to promote sustainable fish farming, because as we all know, the oceans are getting empty. Normal fishing is unsustainable very soon. We don't have any sushi anymore. And their product is basically coming out. So I'm going,
World
okay,
without sushi?
yes,
Don't even tease.
it's coming. if we are on the way to mess it up right now. So, and their message is basically, okay, we do have a method how we can do sustainable fish farming that does not harm the ocean more than necessary, or actually not at all in their context. And so there's additional messages that can come in from the brands if they want to tell additional stories for it that actually change the world, as we saw in the previous panel. If you have the opportunity in VR to change something, change it for good.
We were also very surprised about the PR media side, so that's where I happen to sit at KETCHUM. We did our first VR film for Samsung about the Olympics, and everyone said, what's going to make it different? I said, well, we're going to premiere at a Tribeca Film Festival, and we're going to fill the room with 90 media people. And they came into the room, they had experienced with the gear. The woman from the Wall Street Journal started crying, and next thing you know, we had 400 million impressions in the next 3 days, and we thought, well, where do you read about great movies? You read about it, or your friends. Music, you read about it. New TV shows, you read about it. How are people going to read about the new VR content? So that's kind of the bet we made from a PR side, is in order to really amplify it, but you guys have to make it, and we have to integrate brands, and it's got to be one full cycle.